They tried everything, didn't they? The spells, the curses, the whispers in the dark, but it wasn't enough. It never could be. Because what they didn't know, what they refused to accept, is that when you're chosen by God, no weapon formed against you can prosper. Not in the shadows, not in secret, not even in silence. You were marked long before the battle began, and today, whether you realize it fully or not, you are standing on the edge of something divine, something victorious, because the witches failed, the traps were set, the rituals performed, the lies carefully crafted. But you kept rising. You were never fighting alone. You've always felt it, haven't you? That strange sense that you weren't like the others, that your suffering wasn't random, that your isolation wasn't a punishment, but preparation. You tried to fit in. You tried to shrink yourself. But the fire in your spirit never died, no matter how many storms they threw your way. You were misunderstood, overlooked, mocked, sometimes even by your own family. They labeled you as too sensitive, too intense, too spiritual, or simply too much. But what they didn't know is that you weren't too much. You were chosen. And when you're chosen, you attract attention, not only from those who see your light and wish to bask in it, but also from those who feel threatened by it. Your presence, your energy, your truth, it shakes their demons. It mirrors their lies. It reveals their shadows. So instead of honoring you, they feared you. Instead of protecting you, they tried to control you. And when control didn't work, they turned to darker things. Some of you watching this know exactly what I mean. You've felt things you couldn't explain. Heavy energy lingering in your room after certain people left. Dreams that felt more like warnings than imagination. Nights where it seemed like you were wrestling with something unseen, something ancient. You weren't crazy, you weren't paranoid. What you were was targeted. But here's the good news. The war was never yours to fight alone. Even when you didn't see it, even when you doubted, even when you cried yourself to sleep, God was there, watching, covering, warring for you in the spirit. The witches failed because they underestimated the anointing on your life. They thought their rituals could bind what God has already set free. They thought their envy could undo what heaven has written. But when you're chosen, you are wrapped in a hedge of divine protection. And that's what they never understood. They saw the surface. You struggling, you hurting, you isolated, and they thought you were weak. But what they didn't see was the legions of angels surrounding you, the warfare going on behind the veil, the fire burning inside your bones, fueled by purpose. The more they attacked, the more your soul awakened. Every betrayal, every lie, every backstab, it was all fuel, not for revenge, but for revelation. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started declaring, "Try me." You began to see the patterns. You realized that every season of pain was also a season of pruning, that every loss was positioning you, that every closed door was divine protection. You stopped reacting to the attacks and started discerning their purpose. And slowly but surely, God started showing you who was for you, who was sent against you, and who was sent by God to elevate you. He began separating you, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Because where He's taking you, not everyone can follow. Not every voice gets to speak over your destiny, and not every spirit deserves access to your energy. You were born with a different blueprint. Your DNA holds spiritual instructions that many will never understand. You don't just dream, you discern. You don't just speak, you shift atmospheres. Your intuition isn't just a feeling, it's divine guidance. And the enemy knew this. That's why they sent the witches, not the ones in fairy tales, but the ones who smile in your face while speaking death over your name in secret. The ones who use manipulation as their spell book. The ones who try to drain your light with confusion, guilt, and shame. But hear me, every spell they spoke, every trap they laid, every lie they told, it all failed. Not because you were stronger, but because God is greater. The Most High stepped in. The battle wasn't yours, it was His. And now He's revealing what's been hidden. He's lifting the veil, and everything they tried to destroy in you is about to be elevated before their eyes. They thought they buried you, but what they didn't realize is that you were a seed, and in the darkness, under pressure, you were growing. In silence, God was cultivating your strength. In isolation, He was sharpening your discernment. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. And now the shift is here. Do you feel it? That subtle yet undeniable change in the air, that inner knowing that your season has changed, that the same hands that tried to break you will now be forced to witness your breakthrough. God is not only vindicating you in the spirit, He's preparing to do it publicly. And when He does, those who mocked your pain will have no choice but to watch your praise. So if you're listening to this right now, understand that it's not by accident. Your spirit was drawn to this message because it's a confirmation. You are chosen, you are covered, and the battle has already been won. The witches failed, not because they weren't persistent, but because they were never stronger than the God who walks with you. They cast their shadows, but the light in you could not be dimmed. You didn't just survive, you outlasted them. You outgrew their tactics. You evolved past their reach. You are no longer in the same energetic frequency. That old version of you they tried to destroy, that person is gone. What stands in their place now is a spiritual warrior, anointed by fire, crowned by suffering, and wrapped in divine glory. And this is just the beginning. They came for your mind first, didn't they? That was always the battleground. Your thoughts, your sense of identity, the way you see yourself. Because if they could twist that, if they could make you believe you were unworthy, unloved, or forgotten, then maybe, just maybe, they could stop you before you rose. They tried to make you doubt yourself, question your worth, suppress your voice. But the more they pressed, the louder heaven whispered your name. Every spiritual attack you faced was not random. It was a response to your calling. You were targeted because you're spiritually potent. You carry a presence that shifts dimensions when you walk into a room. You may not have seen yourself this way, but the enemy always did. That's why it felt like your life was under siege from the start, from childhood, from your earliest memories. It wasn't just trauma, it was warfare, because something in you terrified darkness, even when you didn't yet know the light you carried. But let me tell you something powerful. Every battle you faced, whether internal or external, was not meant to crush you. It was meant to reveal the force of God within you, that silent strength, that unshakable resilience, that stubborn faith that refused to die even in your lowest moments. You may have bent, you may have cried, you may have fallen, but you never broke. They saw your pain and mistook it for weakness. They didn't know pain was your prophecy in disguise, that the scars on your soul were sacred marks of survival. You didn't become bitter, you became bold. You didn't curse God, you clung to Him tighter. And while others turned to manipulation and spiritual shortcuts, you chose integrity. You chose surrender. You chose obedience. That's why you're still standing. That's why you're about to rise like never before. You didn't get here without going through hell. The sleepless nights, the spiritual heaviness, the betrayals that cut deeper than swords, the people who swore they loved you but secretly hoped you'd fail, the ones who clapped for your pain and smirked at your setbacks. But let them talk, let them watch. Because while they were watching your struggle, heaven was writing your victory. The witches failed, not just because God stepped in, but because you refused to quit. You kept praying, you kept believing, you kept getting up, even when your legs were trembling and your heart was bleeding. That kind of faith, it moves mountains, it splits seas, it causes heaven to lean in. And now your enemies are confused. They can feel it, that something is shifting in your atmosphere, that the power they once had to torment you no longer works, that the manipulation doesn't land, that the spiritual attacks bounce back. Why? Because you've stepped into your authority. You're no longer begging for peace, you're walking in dominion. You've learned that your prayers are not weak, they're weapons. Your worship isn't just music, it's warfare. And your pain isn't just personal, it's prophetic. Let's talk about the battles you've faced. Not just the ones in the physical, but the ones no one saw, the ones that happened in silence, in your soul, in your dreams. Do you remember the times when it felt like a dark cloud was following you? When every step forward came with resistance? When the people around you drained you and made you question your path? That was spiritual warfare. That was the enemy trying to wear you out before you could step into your assignment. But the enemy underestimated the depth of your anointing. They didn't realize that what you carry isn't just for you, it's for generations, that your healing is ancestral, that your breakthrough is generational, that your calling isn't just personal, it's global. You weren't just fighting for yourself, you were breaking chains for others who didn't even know they were bound. And God saw it all. The tears no one acknowledged, the sacrifices no one appreciated, the prayers no one heard. Heaven was never silent, even when it felt like it. God was gathering every injustice, every attack, every false word, and now the scales are tipping. The time for divine justice is upon you. Those who played with your name, who tried to rewrite your story through gossip, slander, and witchcraft, they're feeling the spiritual shift. Their energy is returning to them. Their manipulations are unraveling. Their masks are cracking. Because when God says enough, no amount of chanting, spell work, or intention can override it. And here you are, chosen one, still standing, still breathing, but more than that, glowing with wisdom, glowing with power, glowing with the glory of a soul that's been to war and came back crowned. You've got spiritual stripes, heavenly credentials. You've passed tests others would have died in. You've endured betrayals others couldn't recover from. And that's divine strength. So many tried to dim you because they couldn't decode you. You were too layered, too radiant, too deep. But God made you that way on purpose, because the people you're meant to lead, the lives you're meant to touch, require someone with depth, with scars, with supernatural sight. You're not a copy. You're a divine original, crafted for impact. Now the trembling begins, not in you, but in those who tried to destroy what God was building. They can feel your rise. They sense that the season they thrived in is over, that your favor is no longer blocked, that your voice is no longer suppressed, and that your time has come. You were never meant to stay in hiding. That isolation was never your final destination. It was your cocoon, your training ground, your sacred space of transformation. And now heaven is opening the door, the light is breaking through, and as you step forward, everything that tried to curse you will have to bow to the God who carried you. So don't be surprised when the very ones who cursed your name now seek your wisdom. Don't be shocked when tables turn and you're seated in rooms they tried to keep you out of. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. This isn't ego, it's elevation. You're about to see what it means when God says, "I will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies." Not to gloat, but to show them who you really were all along, to show that His hand was on you the entire time. You are not rising because the battle got easier. You're rising because you became stronger, because God fought for you when you didn't even know there was a war. And now the reward is coming, the vindication, the elevation, the peace, the clarity, the destiny. Everything they said you'd never be, you're becoming. Everything they thought they destroyed is being resurrected, and everything they tried to curse is being crowned. This is your moment, chosen one. Walk in it boldly. God is moving now, and this time it will be public. You've suffered in silence long enough. You cried behind closed doors, you battled in the shadows, and you stayed quiet when your spirit was screaming. You took the high road while others dragged your name through the mud, and God took note of every moment, every accusation, every time you bit your tongue while lies were spoken over you. Every night you laid awake asking why people you loved turned into strangers, or worse, into silent enemies. Heaven was watching, And now justice is walking through the door. What they thought they got away with, God is bringing it to light, not to humiliate, but to correct, not to punish, but to reveal the truth. You see, when you are chosen, your story becomes a mirror. It exposes falsehood, it provokes conviction, and your life, scarred and sacred, becomes the proof that no lie can stand forever and no curse can override divine purpose. For too long, you were the quiet one, the one who endured, the one who held it all together. But now the roles are shifting. You're stepping into a season where your voice will be heard, not as noise, but as a trumpet of truth. And those who once silenced you will hear the echo of your breakthrough across realms. Because this isn't just about your vindication, it's about divine order being restored. God is a God of justice, not just in eternity, but here, now, in this life. The ones who plotted, who schemed, who used spiritual means to block you, they will see the reversal. The very pits they dug for you, they'll fall into themselves, not because you asked for it, but because justice demands balance. Divine law requires it. The scales have tilted long enough, and heaven is leveling things out. This is not vengeance, this is alignment. And here's the beauty of it. Even as God prepares to raise you up in front of those who tried to tear you down, your heart remains pure. You're not seeking revenge. You're not looking to gloat. You've healed too deeply for that. You've tasted the sweetness of peace, and now you only want what's holy. That's why God can trust you with this elevation, because He knows your heart has been refined in fire. This next season, it won't look like the past. The trauma cycles are breaking, the fear patterns are dissolving, the confusion is lifting, because God isn't just redeeming time, He's restoring clarity. He's revealing not only who you are, but who they are. The masks are falling, the hidden motives are being exposed, and your discernment is becoming razor sharp. People are going to ask, how did you survive all that? And you'll smile, not with pride, but with reverence, because you'll know it wasn't your might. It wasn't your strategy, it was God. It was always God. When your soul was exhausted and your spirit crushed, it was His breath that kept you going, His hand that kept you steady, His voice that whispered, keep going, I'm not done with you yet. And He wasn't. He's not. In fact, what you've been through has only scratched the surface of the assignment He placed on your life. You didn't walk through the fire to come out empty-handed. You're coming out with wisdom, with anointing, with vision. You're coming out with authority, because every hit you took in the spirit only made you more dangerous to darkness. Every delay only deepened your trust in divine timing. Now you don't move by fear, you move by revelation. You don't react to threats, you respond with truth. You've outgrown the need to prove anything to anyone, because the proof is in your presence, the evidence is in your peace. That's what the enemy can't counterfeit, true peace. Not just happiness when things are good, but peace that surpasses understanding, peace in the middle of chaos, peace that radiates from a soul that knows it's been carried by something bigger. And that's what your enemies see now. That's what the witches feel in the atmosphere. That stillness, that confidence, that unshakable faith. It's unsettling to them because it means their power over you is broken. Their control has shattered, and now they're left with nothing but the reflection of their own actions. Let them sit with that while you rise. You're not who you were when this battle began. You've matured. You've been transformed. Your pain has turned into purpose. Your rejection has become redirection. Your loneliness has birthed leadership. You are no longer asking for a seat at the table. You are building your own, with God as the architect. And now comes the reversal, the one the Bible speaks of. The last shall be first. The forgotten shall be remembered. The rejected shall be crowned. You've waited long enough, not just for things, but for clarity, for peace, for healing. And God is bringing it all to you in this divine hour, not because you demanded it, but because you endured, because you trusted when it didn't make sense, because you praised when it hurt. This is your reward, not just external elevation, but internal transformation. the kind of change that makes you untouchable, not invincible, but rooted, anchored, spiritually fierce. There's a reason the attacks felt so intense before this moment. The witches, the manipulators, the users, they could feel this day coming. They felt your spirit waking up. They sensed your glow returning, and they panicked. They threw everything at you. Old traps, new tactics, disguised attacks, all of it. But it failed, because your destiny isn't fragile, it's eternal. It's fortified by divine design. And now it's your voice that will carry weight, your story that will inspire healing, your testimony that will unlock others. Because this wasn't just about your survival, it was about your rise, your awakening, your empowerment. God didn't just bring you through to say, "Well done." He brought you through to say, "Now go, now lead, now speak." You are evidence, walking evidence that God still speaks, that prayer still works, that divine justice still manifests, that no dark force, no spell, no curse, no lie can stop the rise of a chosen one. So lift your head. The shame they tried to wrap around you has been burned away. The fear they projected onto you is returning to sender, and the crown they tried to snatch is being fastened tighter than ever, because your name was known in heaven before it was ever attacked on earth. You are marked for glory, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can alter what God has already declared. They will see it, the shift, the glow, the peace, the authority, and whether they confess it or not, they will know the one they tried to break has been rebuilt by heaven's own hands. But why were you attacked so relentlessly? Why did it feel like the moment you took your first breath, darkness was already lurking, already scheming, already striking? There's a deeper layer to your story. Chosen one that goes beyond people, beyond conflict, beyond this physical world. You were attacked because your soul carries an ancient mission, a vibration so pure, so potent, that it threatens the very foundation of the systems built on deception. Your existence is a paradox. You were sent as a peacemaker, but you've known nothing but warfare. You came to bring healing, yet you've been wounded by those you loved most. You speak light, yet you've walked through some of the darkest valleys imaginable. And this is not coincidence. It is the divine paradox, the sacred contradiction that often marks the lives of those who are chosen. Because to carry divine light, you must first understand the shadows. The reason behind the attacks wasn't just envy. It wasn't just misunderstanding. It was spiritual protocol. Before the chosen are revealed, they are tested, not to see if they're good enough. God already knows you are, but to fortify the vessel, to strengthen the spirit, to stretch the faith, so that when you do rise, you don't collapse under the weight of your calling. That's what the witches never saw coming, that every dart they threw made you sharper. Every betrayal deepened your discernment. Every storm you endured didn't break you, it baptized you, anointed you, prepared you. It's not just spiritual warfare, it's spiritual initiation. The attacks taught you about people. They taught you how to read energy, how to recognize manipulation even when it's dressed in kindness, how to feel the truth behind someone's words. You've become so spiritually sharp, so intuitively tuned, that now you can see things before they happen. Feel danger in silence, sense deception in smiles. That's not paranoia, that's prophetic insight. It's not trauma, it's clarity. And now you move differently. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You've stopped over-explaining yourself. You've stopped forcing connections. You've stopped begging people to understand your journey. Because you realize now it's not meant for everyone. Your walk is sacred, your path is protected, and your mission requires silence until it's time to speak. Many don't understand that about you. They see your silence as weakness. But silence is often the language of the spiritually mature, the ones who've seen too much, felt too much, lost too much to waste energy on what doesn't serve God's will. That's where you are now, not in bitterness, but in brilliance. And let's be honest, a lot of people couldn't handle your light. That's why they turned on you. That's why they tried to compete when you weren't even playing the same game. You weren't trying to outshine them, you were just being who God created you to be. And that triggered something in them. Your authenticity exposed their masks. Your integrity revealed their manipulation. Your presence made their demons restless. And instead of healing, they attacked. Instead of self-reflection, they blamed you. That's the psychology of spiritual warfare. It often masquerades as personal conflict. But deep down, it's always spiritual. It's always about light versus darkness, truth versus illusion, purpose versus confusion. So don't take it personally anymore. Don't hold resentment. The witches, the liars, the saboteurs, they were just pawns in a much bigger game. Tools used to sharpen your soul. They came into your life to trigger the transformation that would eventually birth your purpose. Even the ones you loved, the ones who knew your wounds and used them against you, the ones who promised forever and disappeared when the storm came, they were part of the process too. And while the pain was real, so was the purification. They didn't just break your heart, they cracked your shell. And through those cracks, your divinity began to shine through. The mission you carry is too sacred to be built on shallow foundations. That's why God let the shaking happen, the exposure, the endings. He had to remove the false so he could reveal the true. He had to clear your path so that when the time came, there would be no distractions, only destiny. And that time is now. You are no longer confused about who you are. The illusions have burned away. The false attachments have been severed. You know now that your peace is your compass. Your energy is your currency. Your purpose is your protection. And anyone who threatens that, no matter how close, has to go. This is what rising looks like, not prideful, not loud, but holy, focused, anchored in grace, and glowing with quiet fire. Don't apologize for it. You earned this strength. You cried for it. You bled for it. You walked through hell for it. And now that you've emerged whole and holy, there is no going back. Not to the old cycles, not to the old mindsets, not to the versions of you that begged for love instead of recognizing your worth. You are awake now, and once the chosen awaken, they cannot return to sleep. This is the season where your mission activates, where your voice carries new weight, where your presence unlocks healing in rooms, where you start to remember not just who you are, but why you came. You were sent here for impact, not to blend in, but to disrupt, to realign what's been broken, to restore what's been stolen, to rebuild what the enemy tried to destroy. The opposition you've faced all your life? It's proof of your potency, the jealousy, confirmation of your radiance, the constant resistance, evidence of your sacred assignment. The witches failed not just because you were protected, but because you were called. And when you're called, heaven will move mountains, shift timelines, and collapse kingdoms to fulfill the promise spoken over you. This is deeper than success. It's bigger than recognition. It's about fulfilling the covenant, the one God made with your soul before you even entered this world. A covenant to protect, to provide, to elevate, to expose, and to establish. And that's exactly what's happening now. You are being established, rooted in truth, crowned in wisdom, armored in discernment. The glory on your life is no longer hidden. It's radiating. It's undeniable. And even your enemies can feel it. They may never admit it, but they see it. They know. You are chosen, not by man, not by chance, but by God Himself. You were never forgotten, never overlooked by heaven. In fact, the spotlight of the divine has been upon you since the beginning. It was the world that didn't recognize you, but God did. Even when you doubted, even when you felt unworthy, even when you thought you'd missed your moment, grace still followed you. Mercy still covered you. And now favor is overtaking you. It is no longer a matter of if, but when. And the when is now. This is your season of fulfillment. The spiritual war that nearly destroyed you has become the foundation upon which your new life is being built. The very hands that tried to tear you down will now be forced to witness your elevation. But this is not about revenge, this is about purpose, about promise, about prophecy fulfilled. You've walked through the fire, and now you carry the flame, a light that cannot be dimmed because it was lit by heaven itself. And that light will now draw people not to you, but to the God within you. That is your calling, not just to rise, but to lead others out of the darkness you once knew so well, to speak life where death once ruled, to shine light where shadows linger, to be the living proof that yes, the witches failed, but more importantly, God never did, and He never will. Because the final word over your life doesn't belong to the ones who hurt you. It doesn't belong to the ones who hexed you, hated you, or hunted you down with their envy and projections. The final word belongs to the one who created you, the one who called you, the one who fought for you when you were too tired to fight for yourself. Chosen one, your very survival is a miracle, but your rise, that's a prophecy fulfilled. You are not just walking into victory, you are the victory. You're the answered prayer of your ancestors. You're the breakthrough someone else is waiting for. You're the living testimony that God still redeems, still restores, still resurrects what others deemed dead. So don't shrink back. Don't second guess what's happening. This glow on your life, this new peace, this elevation, it's real, and it's only the beginning. The doors opening before you aren't luck. They're legacy. The favor falling on you isn't coincidence. It's covenant. Walk in it. Not with arrogance, but with authority. Not with vengeance, but with vision. Not to prove anything to those who doubted you, but to honor the God who delivered you. Let them wonder how you're glowing like this after all you've endured. Let them ask how you're still standing when everything came against you. And let your answer be simple, quiet, powerful. Because God fought my battle. And now, chosen one, it's your turn to fight. Not with bitterness or pride, but with love, with wisdom, with purpose. You don't need to retaliate. Your very existence is retribution. Your healing is the loudest response. Your peace is the loudest praise. So go now. Go into the world with your spirit upright, your heart aligned, and your path divinely lit. Step boldly into the destiny that tried to kill you. Speak with the voice they tried to silence. Love with the heart they tried to harden. And lead with the grace they tried to steal. You're not a victim. You're a vessel, chosen, anointed, sent. And no weapon formed against you, not then, not now, not ever, will prosper. The witches failed and heaven prevailed. So let it be known in every realm, the battle is over, and God won. Spiritual call to action. If this word stirred your spirit, don't hold it in. Share it. Speak it. Walk in it. You are the light this world needs, and your voice carries more power than you know. Declare in the comments below, the witches failed, God fought my battle. Let your affirmation be a seed sown in faith. And wherever you go next, remember, your rise is divine, your glow is sacred, and your life is evidence that the chosen are never forsaken. Until next time, stay grounded, stay glowing, and stay chosen.